You ever wonder what skill level you might be? Do you feel like you just don't have what it takes sometimes just to beat your friend, beat that person up that's at the GT? Well, today we're going to talk about exactly that on OCS. We're going to break down the amount of skill levels and what those skill levels mean exactly. Stay tuned and locked in, everyone. We back at it. Another week, another penny, everyone. How's everyone doing today, brother? How are you doing, my brother?
I'm doing great. I am chilling, having a good day, and I'm, almost excited for Showtime Tuesday.
You love the wallpaper, the background to all of this?
I do. I appreciate it.
I know it's
right
not
colors.
It's the right colors, exactly.
Correct.
It's not your exact flavor that you currently have in your background, but hey, it's close. It's akin to your liking.
It is. If they wouldn't punish an entire faction for one detachment sins,
True,
but
indeed.
I do love the little lead ahead where you're like, we're gonna tell you the levels and exactly what they mean, and if anyone disagrees with us, they're wrong.
Yes, mandated here on Onslaught Gaming 40K.
The definitive levels of skill you play the game at.
Am I even qualified to do this? I ponder. Because I am a level below you.
Look, now, first of all, that is categorically untrue with our history of matches. But secondly, you see that right there? That I have opinions and I have a platform to share them. So,
Yes. Gotta have you bring all the opinions. So you have something special for everyone today, right?
I do. In fact, this is, kind of how I viewed 40K for a while. Even before I got into the quote unquote competitive scene, this was just how my brain categorized playing it. And, just for everyone's sake, this isn't just 40K specific. This is really any kind of competitive environment you get into that has minutia in it, right? Not things like, football, chess, basketball, where all the rules are laid out in stone and there is no more gray areas. But things like, Magic the Gathering is a really great example. And of course, the sister to 40K, Age of Sigmar as well, where you have these different depths of gameplay you can kind of wade into. And I think it's good to, just talk about that because I think it's something that as a community and especially at the competitive community, it's taken for granted or is assumed knowledge when you start talking to people. So, I thought it'd be a good idea to put it out there in plain speech in case people were lost or didn't quite understand, why they're, practicing movement as they've been told to do, but still getting floored or shot or whatever. Or they're pre-measuring. They're like, oh, I know my gun is 24 inches and my guy moves 6, so I have a 30-inch threat range, but somehow the enemy's 30-inch threat range is hitting them 36 inches away and they can't figure out why.
Yep.
So I think it's just good to kind of, put some paint on the wall, so to speak. So starting there, we have what is the first level of any game you get to be a part of, but specifically 40K, and that's just learning the rules of the game. Learning what phases are, learning what detachments means, your data sheet profiles. If someone says, hey, what's the strength of that gun? Knowing what to do with that question, right? This is kind of, and this may sound obvious, but this is where you have to start. That's why. It's knowing your mission. If I say we're playing Linchpin versus Taken Hold versus Scorched Earth, understanding at least at a base level what that means you have to do to make your score go from 0 to 100. And this also includes things like your core stratagems and even your army rules. Because, you know, if I play, like the good example we're joking about, Tyranids mainly, and then I jump over to Slaanesh, I can't fall back on, you know, Synapse and Shadow and the Warp. I got to learn what, you know, Chaos Demons Slaanesh flavor does.
Yep.
So this is the first level, is just learning what the paper tells you. It's like, okay, command phase, I take battle shock tests, you know, I check for primary, all these things. Detachments, all right, I'm playing, you know, Gladius Task Force. That means I get these rules and not these other rules for these other 6 Space Marine detachments. That's kind of your first level. It's just your baseline. What am I coming in with, and what does it do? The second level is honestly where I feel like the majority of the community is, right? Like once you get in, you put your foot in the door and you decide, hey, this is kind of cool, I like it, I want to stay. You go to the second level, which is learning that every single rule in 40K can and has a way to be broken.
Yep.
For example, can you advance and shoot? The answer to that question is no if you just read the core rules. Then you go and you look at a gun that has the assault keyword, and you're like, what does that do? Oh, this weapon can be fired even if the unit advanced. Suddenly you're breaking a rule. Fall back and charge, another rule that, you know, we would say cannot be broken. So this is where you kind of learn that the rules you were taught are just that baseline foundation to build these other rules and interactions on top of. You know, there's things like load op. Like, you know, if you're within range of my 24-inch Gatling gun, I can just shoot you. But I'm like, oh no, I'm, you know, a lictor. No, you can't. Or a combi lieutenant. I'm 12.1 away, and I'm, even though I'm almost in half range, you still can't shoot me for some reason. And this also, you know, covers things that, you know, you may not be able to do. Like out of phase movement is a very big rule break that is seen as very powerful, because moving is how you keep units alive, block plays, score more primary when you shouldn't have. What was it? Strength and Death or something. And Yanari was just busted for almost a year because it was that out of phase movement that just couldn't be answered. So,
just so I can add something into there, right? The out of phase movement and going towards the bending the rules in particular to everyone. Make sure you understand what particular abilities or stratagems or things that you're going to use that's out of phase actually works. So when you're bending the rules, actually know that it works, right? Don't bend the rules and cheat. Bend the rules and understand exactly what you're doing. You're more like exposing what's weak in the rules itself. So
correct. It is a bending. That's a great wording. A bending of the rules, not breaking of them, because it's still allowed. It's just bending that first rule that you know we were all taught.
Yep.
And a good, you know, the most prolific example of this is, you know, advance and shoot, advance and charge. You have the, you know, Stormlands Task Force, Bringers of Flame, Montka Tau, entire Index World Eaters. You know, they had like 1/8 of their army rule was just advance and charge.
Yeah.
So, you know, there is a Vanguard Tyrannid. You know what what my favorite detachment there is. If you have the Vanguard Vader keyword, you can just advance and charge, and the whole army can fall back and charge. So this is the second level of kind of learning these interactions. And also there is the sequencing, you know, for advantage. Mm-hmm. And this kind of segues into the third level, which is where the most competitive people are at, but is also, you know, has the most depth of skill and just breadth of what's the word I'm looking for here? Expression.
Yep.
For example, the easiest way to say a simple sequencing of advantage would be on the mission Scorched Earth. When you're burning objectives and you're the active player, you know, you can choose the order things resolve. So if you have bottom of turn and you get something like extend battle lines, but you're also burning the last no man's land objective, you can choose to resolve your secondary, and then primary will resolve last, so you don't cheat yourself out of a secondary card by getting rid of the objective.
And
Now,
another advantage you get out of that as well is that you could potentially get a challenger card and still have that money in the bank based on that particular secondary mission.
yep, that is also
So,
true. So another thing to learn, is that Battle Shock puts you at 0 OC. That is not always the case. The two most prolific examples right now in the meta are any banner units that give you +1 OC, because the way it works is your OC is set, and then you apply any modifiers such as a +1 aura or ability in a unit like an ancient. The other would be ignore all modifiers such as the Silent King or Mortarion, whereas your OC being modified to 0 is in fact just ignored by those units' rules.
Yep.
So these are still they still kind of fall into what the datasheet tells you, but it's not necessarily intuitive that Battle Shock being set to 0 is a modifier to be ignored. Like -1 to hit or minusing your movement characteristic may be more easily recognizable. And then, with those two kind of out of the way, those were a bit quick, and this is where the real meat is going to be on level 3, which is where a lot of the, like I said, expression and depth of the game lives at. And this is what I have kind of coined learning the unwritten rules of 40K.
Yep.
Now, I've done a lot of talking, so I'm going to let the man over here himself take it off with this, because this is a lot of area of his expertise, and he's talked about quite a bit on his various other episodes he's done. Oh, I
talk to me, baby. What happened? You apologize for what?
Oh, apparently Morty doesn't ignore modifiers anymore. He did in the index. I apologize. I do not realize he lost that aura, but yes, way back when he did, the Silent King still does. So the Silent King would, be by himself with that. Also, I believe Trajan can once a game, but anyways. The point stands. If you ignore modifiers, not just hit and wound modifiers, you ignore the Battle Shock effect of 0 OC.
So getting into level 3, right? And this is the discussion that I've had with a multitude of individuals. You may feel that you have the capacity, the ability to pick up the rule book of Warhammer 40K, read it, be a individual who understands and comprehends very well, and think you know the entire game from the literature portion of the game, but not know the unwritten rules of the game. What does that mean entirely? So if you're an individual, and I'm going to give it to you in two phrases, one quite technical and one very layman. So if you're an individual that likes to go out there to a local tournament, play in Garage Hammer, and you are seen as an individual who understands the game very well, understands the 40K rules and comprehends it on a different level, you might be seen as the big fish in your community where, hey, you understand this game, we go to you for assistance. Then you have individuals that go to super majors, go to big team events in different countries or in different states, and actually join these major conglomerates where these individuals that are hitting the highest strides, hitting the highest podiums in the world, and you're articulating and enjoying yourself with these individuals, and you start learning the unwritten rules that are not in the game, things that you can expose your enemy with, right? One thing being that potentially sticky objectives is probably one of the more powerful things in the game, right? Now, everyone understands that. Very, very simple. Now, actually doing it, making sure that it's absolutely effective, the timing of that is a whole different degree of another skill level. And that's what we talk about when we say level 1, level 2, and level 3. Level 1 individual players are very rudimentary. 2, novice level players. Level 3, more expert level players, individuals that are getting the opportunity to play more often, right? So now to kind of explain to you in a very layman's term, like I was saying before, about an individual or a few individuals or any individual that goes out there and understands the rule. you don't really know the rules until you're out there with the big dogs. Okay. And when you're out there with the big dogs, you really start understanding the things that need to be seen in the game. You start seeing it at a whole different level tactically and on a different strategic level. That's not to say that everyone doesn't have the ability to do those things. All right. I don't want people to take this out of context and say, hey, are you saying we're not able to do those things? No, you're absolutely able to do those things, but put yourself in position to actually do those things. Be around those individuals, right? You might have a local that actually goes out there to super majors, and you're entitled, or you have the lucky benefit of being around those individuals. Some Florida people are like that, right? They have the benefit of being around some strong players, Texas players, California players, New York players, things like that, right? They might have the opportunity to have a strong community and a lot of big fish. So boiling down ultimately to the bare bones when it comes to level 3, it's just mastering the game, mastering what is not written, what is not understood, what is more so just known as common information. If a particular rule you feel, you look at and you say, hey, this doesn't work, but the common agreements in the community, knowing by a game designer of this particular game has said that this is the actual intent on this rule, then play those intents of that rule. For one in particular, right? They were allowing for a very long time in this game the Hellbrute to fight on death. The Hellbrute is all chaos deities, but specifically for the world leaders that I play. That Hellbrute was like that for a very long time, right? Until it was rectified by a GW event, and they stated, hey, no, this is not how it functions. People played it as rules as intended, or rules as raw, however you want to look at it. And then the company stepped in and said, listen, this is not how it's played. So that can be one of those cases. You have any other good cases too you want to kind of point out as well, Reigel?
I think a good introductory one to kind of the nuance we're talking about here, to kind of get people's mind on the right track, is a very popular thing you'll see people doing in playing, if they're playing competitively, is saying, oh, my model is 1 inch off the wall. The rules don't tell you have to be 1 inch off the wall to be unchargeable or make it a harder charge. It is an intuitive unwritten rule that if you have to end within an inch to be within engagement range, if I'm 1 inch, if I'm 1 inch.
No, charge blocking is a rule now in the rules packet, actually.
But it wasn't.
It was correct. It was.
So that's why I'm saying this is a good example, because now it's very, it is normalized in the rules. What players did was the wall exists. It takes up physical space no matter how little. So if you're an inch from the inside of the wall, even if you charge and touch the outside, you're still 1 and some space away from their unit. So you have to go around and get so that's one of those kind of unwritten rules we're talking about, which now, again, as General Slaughter said, it is a written rule, but for a while it wasn't, but it was being played and still being, I don't want to use the word abused, but taken advantage of, a way to use the rules that are written in a way that isn't necessarily, spelled out for you to do.
There's another one too that I currently, so for those of you who are coming to Crucible, right, there is a rule where embarking, I believe it's still to this day still states that it's model and not unit. And that's one of those things, right, that gets really, really weird, where you can have a unit strung out whatever distance, holding an objective marker, sticky it, basically xylophone your entire unit into the transport, or slinky into the transport, and just disappear and get everything you need. So yeah, it's there's different levels to this, 100%, right? And understanding those intricacies in the game is what we always say, right? It's the step away from understanding your victory, from controlling your atmosphere, and not going to an event where you're going to be X and 1, right? X, for those of you who've never heard that term, X and 1, X is just a variable digit that can be manipulated by whatever event you're at. So if you go to an RTT, it's 3 rounds, it's 3 and 1, 2 and 1, right?
Yep.
If you go to a GT, it's 5 rounds, you go 4 and 1, right? If you go to a super major like a Crucible and it's 7 rounds, you go 6 and 1. That's an X and 1 type player, all right? I always call myself an X and 1 type player. I have been to those higher peaks before, right? But relatively not too long ago, like 2 years ago as well. So we both have an understanding, right? A very broad understanding of what it takes to be and manipulate those 3 levels of 40K.
Yep.
That's
another
me giving you your flowers, brother.
Look, I've never gone, X and 1. I either go all the way or I make it halfway up the hill and then tank. I'm still working on it.
You're not an in-betweener. You're like, listen, I'm all the way in or all the way out.
That's exactly what it is. Another good, popular example is, knowing when to slow roll your unit saves. And this comes up in things like Court of the Archon that have different variable wounds, say like invulns or feel no pain. So like if you have a last cannon, they'll put on their 1 wound guy. If you have like a 2 damage shot, they'll put on a 3 wound guy with a 5 up feel no pain. They can really make your damage inefficient. And probably a more common example, because no one plays Drukhari too much, is the Calgar brick, where you kill Calgar's unit down, and then when you get to Calgar and his 2 Victrix guard, you kill 1 Victrix guard, and then you start putting saves on Calgar because he has the invuln and the feel no pain from the second one still being alive. And similarly, Saint Celestine can do a thing as well. So knowing, instead of rolling all your saves and cheating yourself out of some damage you could prevent, knowing when to slow roll your unit. Also, for me in particular, or in other units as well, where you have a 5 up invuln or a nose, a bad save unit. Orcs is a good example. Oh, all right.
Yes, Max. Actually, the last FAQ, the last slate, they changed it for whatever particular reason. They changed it in the FAQ to say model instead of unit. And what that created was, and individuals like myself see stuff like that in the back end, right? Is that it allows you to conga line, like I was saying. Sticky an objective, string out, slinky your way back into the transport, and then you're good to go. So yeah, it was a thing. It was a thing. And a lot of people missed it. And a lot of people saw it and wanted to expose it immediately. And those are one of those things that I already stated for Crucible and all of my events. I usually state them for all of my events that we're not playing that game. We're not going to play that game until, and those are the things that are, right, that I hate to do. That's part of the unwritten thing, is that you shouldn't judge by rules as intended or as written or try to safety net people all the time. But my responsibility as an organizer or a community organizer is to protect the community. And if someone is going to expose this in the community and make 5 people's experience completely ruined because they got caught off guard, this wasn't known, right? Things like that, which can be, you can say, hey, the onus is on that individual for their lack of knowledge. But for that sake, that's why I'm here, basically, to keep that away, right? Right, Reigel?
Yeah, well, that's also where, in this, like I said, there's a huge depth of things, because not only are there general rules like disembarking and re-embarking, but there's army-specific stuff, and the community, colloquialism for this is gotchas.
Yes.
So if you had something like that, it is good sportsmanship to let your opponent know before it's relevant. Okay, my intent, for going back to the inch off the wall thing, people would say, okay, my model's moved here, I'm an inch off the wall, so if the table gets bumped, the terrain gets bumped, the model shift, or when you're putting more down, and your opponent can't go, aha, this guy's only 0.9 inches away from the wall, I'm charging you. That's why this just open play that, I know, you advocate both on the channel and at your events, and I'm a big proponent of, is so important.
Exactly,
So,
Chris. That's exactly what we're talking about. Yes, that exact change. That wording where it's not wholly in, it's just within, just all of that model to unit. No, I'm good. I'm not even gonna play that game because that just means one model. Sorry, I kind of explained it. I broke it down to what it does instead of what the rule actually says, right? But yeah, that's exactly what it does. It turns it into a single model instead of a unit having to embark. But as Reigel was saying, right, there's different levels to this game. There's different levels of understanding and on the background. Go ahead, bro. What were you going to say?
This is a very good example by Recon by Fire of letting your opponent know. Like if opponent is setting up very clearly to shoot at a unit, I let them know in Vanguard Invader, hey, that's a lone op. Like, oh, I'm going to move 10 within 10 or whatever. I'm like, hey, you got to get within 6 because I can just spend a strat and make you, not be able to shoot them. Or Grey Knight, having Mists of Deimos or the Sigil, well, the old Sigil, I don't know what it's called now, where if you shoot at a unit, it can just disappear off the board back into reserves. So letting your opponent know, before they set all that up, they say, hey, I can pretty much just nullify what it is you're trying to do is, just more examples of that good sportsmanship, because there is no, like you said, you don't want ever to make your opponent feel, like they wasted their time, basically. Like you're not trying to cheat them. You're not trying to cheat yourself either. But yeah, it's just part of the sportsmanship intent of the hobby and gameplay.
The game etiquette of it. Yeah. And a lot of people have poor game etiquette, right? And a lot of people don't understand that they have bad game etiquette, which is another level of things, right? So,
another good example of knowing the unwritten rules is one of my personal favorites to manipulate.
Come on, I need a sponsor. Yes, I need a
sponsor. Is knowing how to manipulate your saves. 99.9, and that's probably not even true. It's probably closer to like 80%, honestly. People take the better saves, your invuln, your armor, if it if you have a 2-up and for you're a Terminator and cover with AOC or whatever. But sometimes it is just better to take the worst save to prevent potentially more damage. A good example I have is an opponent back when I ironically was playing with Slanesh put a Caladius into a unit of Seekers. And it was a 5-man unit, and one Caladius only did 4 wounds. And I had one that was completely out of line of sight of the rest of his army. But the second, even on that second model, would have been in line of sight of the other Caladius. So before I rolled any saves, I just looked at my opponent. I said, I'll take my armor save. Oh, it's a 7-up. I don't get a save. These 4 just die. And he's like, don't you have to take the invuln? And I'm like, no, I don't have to. I can choose what save to take.
I personally disagree, Mr. Recon. I think if someone gets me with a gotcha, if I'm understanding this correctly, if someone gets me with a gotcha, I am never going to forget that encounter.
He means if you use a gotcha to win, your skill as a player doesn't improve. He's talking you're the one that's doing it.
Yeah, winning by a gotcha does it, yeah, but receiving it, no. Yeah.
So, knowing how and when, because manipulating your armor saves is actively detrimental. You are choosing losses over, keeping more of a resource around. But there are a great example actually is a challenger card where 2 of your units have to hit an enemy unit and deal at least 1 wound to get 3 points. The thing is, if the person who has that challenger card, only has like dual Gatling cannon, Chaos Knights, you might just be like, oh no, my 10 Necron warriors with a 5-up invuln just don't get an armor save and are dead. You can't put a second unit into it now and get 3 points. What a shame. Like there are weird niche scenarios you can manipulate your own losses to ruin your opponent's strategy.
Another another good example I tell people all the time. I probably shouldn't tell people at my events this, but I tell them anyways. I just like to educate people, right? But sabotage and defend are two secondaries that you can tempt your opponent to kind of lean their army into, right? Maybe you have your army on that side that you're doing sabotage on, and then right before when they've already proceeded position to kind of take you away from that, discard the card, lose the points for it, but still gain the tactical advantage out of it, out of manipulating the board state from your opponent, right? So that's another level of the game that we speak of, right? Where you have the ability to play something that you know you might not obtain, like a sabotage, since it completes at the end of your opponent's turn, and just dump it right before, right after they commit to you, and be like, all right, nope.
And
gotcha.
In along that vein, great segue is knowing when to and when not to score points for challenger cards. Now, this is not a strategy I personally adhere to. Yep. I am a all gas, all day kind of player, and I want to get my points. I don't care if you get challenger cards. I'll just beat you by more. Yeah. But there is a strategy to not getting points, to not let your opponent get challengers, or if you're going second, get you a challenger. And you can't really manipulate this, but particularly if you have sabotage or defend, that is points not on the board yet. So you could be behind by 6, but really only behind by 3, theoretically.
Yeah.
And if, any of this sounds kind of, scummy or, greasy to you, just remember, people always used to keep, assassinate as a threat. If they drew assassinate turn 1 or 2, they, even before you could discard it on your opponent's turn, plenty of even competitive players would keep it and say, go ahead, bring that character unit out.
Yep.
I got a guaranteed 5 next turn if you do. And then that, in a very similar way to, sabotage and defend, it gave them a choice of, hey, do I really want to push the power of this character unit forward, like Vol Guns, for example, and then give them 5 points? Or do I hold it back and make them waste another secondary turn, but give up some amount of board presence? So there's always been this push and pull of what can I keep or have to manipulate my opponent's plan versus, leveraging what am I sacrificing by potentially if it fails. And again, that's
another thing that Reigel had put together. So Reigel had put this entire thing together, right? So thank you very much to him, first of all. But one of my favorite things you put in level 3 was game tempo, right?
Yep.
That is like one of the most critical skills when you start really advancing to the higher level of competitive play in 40K, right? Like you can go in there and master positioning, movement, setup, things like that, and really know that very well. But if you don't know your tempo, like it's like riding a bike with a flat tire. Right? It's just going to be very hard to ride that bike on a flat tire. And let it be your back tire at that, where all your weight is at. It's even worse, right? So to make a facetious analogy, right? Understand those levels of play as well. Understand that there is a tempo, a time that you should let loose. I've played games, listen, with world leaders. I've played games that I've sat for 2 whole rounds, which you would call camping in video games, right? I just camped two whole rounds. Just sat there because I know everything that I have was short range and I wanted them to get a little bit closer. And sometimes people feel pressured. If you're not doing anything, have you ever played a game against someone where they're just like, pass? You're like, what's going on? And they do it again, pass. You're like, hold up. They might have something up their sleeve, right? Exactly, right?
Just last weekend, I was at a small RTT, and I was made fun of by every other player there because me and my round 2 opponent didn't do anything but trade 1 unit in the center back and forth until turn, like, bottom of 3. Because I was going second, and he was playing the Forge Father's Blessing or whatever it's called for the new Vulcan attachment.
Yep.
And I'm playing Vanguard Nids, and I'm like, cool, you have a bunch of flamers that are just wounding me on 2s. No. And he went first. I had bottom a turn, and I'm like, you know what? I'm better at scoring secondaries than you, I bet. And that was a bet I won.
Yep.
And then turn 3, I happened to battle shock his entire army, and I'm like, cool, no Overwatch. Wham. And by turn 5, he was almost tabled. So, it was a good game. But that, tempo was exactly the next point I was going to bring up. So good on you for recognizing the show tempo. I see you. But this is I specifically added this because almost, and I say almost because I haven't read every single word in the core rulebook. I'll admit that. I'm sorry. I failed you.
You didn't write them all. Why?
You will not see, understanding game state, tempo, flow of the battlefield in there at all. It'll just tell you how to play the game. It won't tell you what to do with your 9 Custodes Dreadnoughts into Imperial Knights versus 200 Orcs across the table.
Don't murder me, internet, but the core rulebook used to say roll a die if you have any disputes, any game disputes, right? I don't know if it still has it. I don't know if it still has it, but that sounds like a hard stop to me. And it's like, come to this hard stop, hit this railroad, right? And roll a die just to figure it out. Good
old. We'll decide on a 4-up. 4-up it's you, 5-up it's mine, or 3-up, 3 down it's my interpretation. Let's go. Let's keep the game going. But yeah, so game tempo, that is a massive skill. Like when people, a very popular saying you'll say is there's no such thing as a perfect game of 40K. Game tempo is largely what they're referencing because almost every player should be able to look back at a game, even if they got 100 and say, you know what, I could have prevented my opponent from getting 37 and given them a 34 instead. Like as small as that.
Chris J, I agree completely, right? It's one of those things that you should be setting up for those later rounds. Now, it sounds like you've played a game or two, right? I played a game or two. Regal's played a game or two. Controlling those tempos a few rounds out, it's a little challenging sometimes. Like you can imagine where you might want to be or where the game state, the score might want to, where the score could potentially be, like you're saying, like the score projection. So it can be manipulated, not entirely though, as you probably already know. But yeah, I get your point and I completely agree.
Yep. So going into a bit of your specialty here, there's something I wanted to talk about because it is a thing I see a lot of people, even, the people who use these rules regularly don't fully understand the power of what they can do is, manipulating the charge and fight phase. I know World Eaters, particularly World Eaters players really have to get good. Before they had Forge Fiend, they had to be experts at this because it was your only real way to do damage. And even with Forge Fiends, now I think it's what elevates the just okay or, just fans of World Eaters to the real, like, excellent World Eater players that are still using, though, we didn't have guns era strategies. Now, okay, now we have guns, but, like, all of my fighting tricks still work. So do you want to kind of explain some tricks you can do that aren't told to you? Okay, when you charge, you can also just do this X, Y, or Z thing.
So before we get into that, blood surge, right, is a thing. It's a big thing, right? Just blood surging into things manipulates the board state. But how I see World Eaters prior to having Forge Fiends is those memes where you got that muscular guy like SpongeBob when he's on a beach, right? Beach Bob, right? And he's all muscular from the top up, but he's got these scrawny legs, right? That's like World Eaters without guns. Now they actually have guns. So with that being said, yes, there are ways to manipulate the blood surge move, the charges, being able to do heroic interventions, to basically prevent units from hitting harder units. Like maybe you heroically intervene with jackals, that way they hit jackals instead. Different varying ways, like Regal was saying. You could take Corn Berserkers, and if you get within 9 inches of this Rhino, I can reactive move out of the Rhino. You shoot them, they reactive move of a threat range from the Rhino to you at 12 inches, right? So you got to be out of, or Yeah, just slightly out of 12 inches. So they have that going for themselves. Also, manipulating the 8-bound, where you can have those close to your units to make them hit infantry on a more efficient die roll. So there's different levels. And then we're talking about synergies there too, right? So things that you synergize together. So.
Yep, and there, to be clear, there is a difference. I kind of want to touch on this earlier, and I forgot because ADHD. There is a difference between, you know, getting your opponent with a gotcha and just having a, you know, knowledge gap in how the rules work. Yeah. Like, you can, like, a very similar movement trick that I had, not necessarily in charge phase, but with the gargoyles, is I tell them, okay, I can, you know, shoot and scoot 6 inches, even out of reserves. And I just tell people that, and they're like, okay, cool, seems like a powerful rule, whatever. And then I would do all kinds of just nasty things to people that they're like, I didn't, you know, they're like, oh, like I my favorite trick against knights is the knights players like, you can't kill me. And I'm like, cool, here's 20 OC though. So, you know, figure that out. And even with two of the old arbiters.
Too bad Anime's not here. He could tell you how 21 berserkers feel.
He's still recovering. He hasn't left the hospital.
Got it.
But no, so there are tricks. So another good example of this, and this is something I just found out myself, is the Sanguinor, and his fun intervention that he does is not a heroic intervention. It's just to show up on the battlefield. Thing is, it doesn't have to show up in base-to-base contact. So another way to manipulate the fight phase, and actually in Recon by Fire's latest battle report he actually uses this strategy. It is limiting the number of models that can hit you by either forcing a higher charge roll or just putting bodies in the way they have to go around.
That's right.
So to you, then the most straightforward example is the Sanguinor, who when he arrives, just arrives in engagement range, which is 1 inch. So you can put him exactly 1 inch away from an enemy model already in base contact with, you know, one of your allied units, that say, I don't know, Sanguinary Guard, because your Blood Angels, that they already charged. While now only that unit, only that one guy can fight you. Because he's only one within, you know, 1 inch. So you can manipulate things like that.
Creating that 300 Spartan like tunnel thing, right? Like I've done it. I do it at people all the time, right? And that goes back to what you were saying earlier, where you play by intent and playing the actual rule in the game where it says you can charge block. So you charge block a whole building 1 inch away from it. Now they have to run around the entire building to the back of it to actually hit you, right? And that actually creates a conga line, which creates a funnel for those units to come in. And usually, unless they're world leaders with a 6-inch pollen and consolidation, a significant less amount of attacks are coming in from those units. So
another thing you can do is, you know, use, a lot of people see big bases as a problem because they're harder to hide, maneuver around corners if you're not infantry. But a fun trick that I love is Broodlord is on a base that's about 3 times as big as a Genestealer base. It is great for, I keep him near the front with 1 or 2 Genestealer friends so the Genestealers can go touch and he can touch. I can get about 6 Genestealers around him. So even if I am 4 inches away and I just roll a 4, after piling in, his base is, because it's oblong, I can get all of them but maybe 1 in. So someone's like, oh, you just made it. I'm like, yeah, but Broodlord's base to base with you, and touch. Now I got a bunch of guys swinging.
Yep.
So
another one of my favorites is when you're on you have a unit that's sitting on an objective marker, and you charge that unit that's on the objective marker, and you wipe everything. And they start pulling out models from the front ranks, right? And you go immediately to base whatever is remaining. That way, both of you don't end up holding that objective marker, so they don't swing around after their attacks, swing around onto the top of the objective marker, right?
Yep.
So you stop people from actually scoring points. And I've done that. Like, I've sacrificed units. Maybe it was a single model. He killed like 3 guys out of the unit, and there was 2 guys left, and I just based them from my or my consolidation rather, because it's after the fight, and stopped myself and that individual from getting an objective. They're like, "Why'd you do that?" I was like, "Well, I stopped you from getting points. You have more OC than I do, and if I don't do this, you're gonna wrap around me and just take the objective marker." So if we're gonna be in a scenario, it's gonna be a lose scenario instead of you winning and I'm losing scenario. Yep.
There's a couple of things. First of all, that is another unwritten rule I forgot, but is a fantastic point. Is you don't have to take an objective by having more OC than your opponent. This is very army dependent and units you have available in that area or whatever. But it was a job that my gargoyles did a lot. I said, I made the joke about, oh, here's 20 guys. But a lot of the time, I would just put 8. If they just had an armager on it, I'm like, cool, here's 4 gargoyles, we tie. So if you get storm hostile objective, or I forgot the other one that used to exist, but like you couldn't take it because I didn't control it, you didn't control it. We were just both there equally. Which again is not something the rules tell you can do. It just spells out how objective control works. Yep. But 2 things. First, the more important one. This is how I understand the rules, and I will let General Slaughter correct me if I'm wrong. But units can hold multiple objectives, but a model has to dedicate where its OC is going. So I don't believe a greater demon or a knight can hold both with 10 OC. But like a unit of 10 guardsmen, you could have guardsmen on the left hold this one, guardsmen on the right hold this one. Is that correct?
I'm 99.9% sure Recon is correct because OC is based per model. So you can have a model that has a certain OC level, and that model can hold multiple objective markers.
Okay, all right. See, I'm learning stuff live. We're doing it live, folks. Didn't know that. Not that I have any models picking up.
I always say 99.9% because there's always some FAQ that drops that I didn't read. But yeah, as rules as intended, it's always models.
You run events, I don't, so I'm going to trust you on it.
Yeah.
But the other one is the he set up here the coherency ripcord, and he gives an example where you leave a random line of dudes sticking out of the back of a 20-man squad, and if you pull a single casualty like in the middle of the chain, you're now out of coherency, and you got to kill until you are in coherency, so you can kill the unit out of combat. And that is actually a fantastic tactic that the unending swarm list of Tyranids used to use with their Termagants or Gargoyles. Yep. And I believe the Guardsmen used to use as well with their 20-man Krieg units, where someone's like, oh, I'll just tag you. And you're like, cool, I'll just break my fishbone in the middle, and oops, I'm out of combat. And anyway, get Lehman Rust.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yes, that is
to do, hold on to abilities or abilities and things like that. There could be a lot of reasons, but yeah.
And
but before we continue, we're gonna pay the bills real quick, brother. Did you want to say one last thing before we do our little 1-minute commercial?
I was just going to say that Chris J, that's another good example of, using the rules that were given to do things the rules don't tell you that you can do, which is turn a disadvantageous rule, which is not being in coherency and dying, into your advantage to get out of a disadvantageous situation.
Yep. And with that being said, we're going to pay the bills real quick. This is actually an individual that's going to be present at Crucible September 19th to the 21st. So for those of you who don't already know, please make sure to come out, support, hang out, buy some stuff, and play some 40K, hopefully. We'll be right back in 1 minute. Welcome to Big Bear 3D, your ultimate destination for top quality terrain and weapon props. Whether you're setting the stage for your next epic battle or enhancing your collection, Big Bear 3D has you covered. Don't forget to scan the QR code to explore our full range and bring the event home with you. Happy gaming! Big Bear 3D is excited to collaborate with Away Games, bringing top-tier competitive experiences to events across North America with our adaptable, modular event tables. The Away Games event table, official for the American Team Championship and standard for the National Tabletop League, can now bring the event home. Pick up the Away Games 2024 event table to replicate any layout featured in ATC or NTL circuit events. Big Bear 3D is thrilled to offer sci-fi weapon props and raw part kits, printed in PLA plastic with all necessary assembly hardware included. We've also partnered with Hobby Goblins to provide assembled and painted prop kits for our customers. And don't forget, bring the event home with you. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out for the commercial. Go support us at Crucible. Big Bear will be there. There's going to be a Creality 3D printer giveaway for the Warhammer 40K side, specifically the GT side, which is what I man, Capitone, right? So come on out, win you a Creality 3D printer, maybe even a resin printer. So this is a filament printer, maybe even a resin printer. I know there's going to be tons of props there. There's going to be tons of rounds to give away. Dude, there's going to be a crazy amount of prop giveaways.
I'm going to print me up a winning record.
I love it. I didn't expect it. I love it. I did not expect that one. I did not expect that one. I love it. Do it. Rock and roll, man. I wish everybody the best, man. I can't be biased because of my position, man, but I wish everyone the best. I hope tear it up.
I am so ready. I'm so hyped on these bugs, man. They are. We're not here for that right now. So another thing I'm going to talk about
it is all 40K.
Is the what's it called? Oh, optimal deployment. Going back to that, the mentality of tempo and looking forward in the game. You'll hear a lot of people say, "Oh, deploy, really practice deployment, movement, all these things," and they don't really specify optimal deployment. Because it's hard because it varies army to army. Optimal.
I died laughing when I saw that one. So hold on, I gotta know. Is this like the Chris J I know? If it isn't, nice to meet you. But is this the Huckleberry that I know? Is this that Chris J? Shout out to Chris J, man. If it's the one I know, or if it isn't, whoever it might be. Thank you. Thank you for the great laugh.
I don't know, man. I just show
probably
up.
5 nights printed out, right? That's probably how you print out your wins.
I will tank 5 nights. Fight me.
Well, it's a pleasure to meet you, Chris J. Absolute pleasure, man. Yeah, the guy that I know, he is not from Seattle. He is from, I think he's in Texas right now.
Oh, look, hey, Anime did show up.
Because especially with the 5 Imperial Knights meme, right? Yeah,
he was coming.
Yeah, he was coming. He knew. He heard it. He had his ears ringing. He knew what was going on.
But so optimal deployment is, it varies wildly from army to army. Whether you have infiltrators, scouts, reactive moves, redeploys, defensive abilities, toughness. Knights deploy very differently than GSC, and even frail armies like GSC deploys wildly differently than Eldar or Drukhari. Anime Squirrel was watching anime. I don't know if that's a self-referential thing. Was he in a mirror? I don't know, man.
He's speaking in third person. I don't know. We don't know what's going on.
Exactly.
Something weird's going
on. And this is kind of like game tempo where it's a bit more nebulous, right? Where you kind of have to know what your game plan is to deploy properly. There are too many times, and even we do. We've talked about games we've played where we were yeah, man, as soon as we drew our secondary cards, we saw 2 or 3 things we just messed up on.
Yeah.
Or we laid down our final unit, took a step back, looked down, and just started cussing at ourselves because we knew. But yeah, but that is definitely a deeper, because again, the Codex isn't going to say, okay, you're playing Space Marines, put your Land Raider here on layout 1 and here on layout 2. You're going to have to know that for yourself. And that kind of goes into my last point that I have, with any amount of scripting, we'll call it. And that is pre-measuring. Pre-measuring is a skill. I promise you, it is not just knowing, like I said, about an hour ago, that you have a 24-inch gun and move 6 inches. It is accounting for a bunch of variables. For example, very, very few units in the game actually go their full distance that you think they go. Even things like gargoyles that, move 12, can advance and shoot and scoot 6 more inches. Even if they don't very rarely go 18 inches in a straight line because there's, maybe enemy models blocking the way, making a move block or blocking with engagement range or reasons I don't want to go there. Yeah, and this, and this is the other thing right here. Blood surge
about that earlier.
Anything that your movement might Overwatch is a great example. Many things don't want to. I could go my 18 inches, but then I'm right in front of a double flamer land raider redeemer, and no thank you, because then I just don't got gargoyles left. Back when Anime was playing his sisters and he was running immolators, it would really hamper. Like I could get 3-inch charges and get flamered, or I could take risk a 7-inch charge and have my entire unit.
Exactly. Yep.
I rolled a lot of 7s. I just did not risk the +1 string flamers coming at me. This is a fantastic strategy. I don't do it myself. I have my own way, but this is definitely a very good way to do it, which is kind of reverse engineer where you think you want to be on turn 1 and then put your models there.
Yep.
That is a wonderful strat to practice and hone your skills with. The other thing I will say specifically about blood surging is a tactic that I love to use. Is I let my opponent's greed get the better of them.
Yeah.
Because a philosophy that I've lived by since, playing this game is I don't have to play perfectly. I just have to play better than you.
That's right.
And I will let someone blood surge into me or move surge near me, like the Dark Angels attachment, where if you move, they can make a reactive charge, or anything like that. Because I'll put, a Lictor or even a Gene Stealer squad or something out, and then they charge me, and I'm like, oh, look, my warriors who were 13 inches away only moved 6 and had a 7-inch charge now have a 4. How weird, because you got close to me.
Yep.
And I've used that to let people kind of seal their own fate. And I tell them, I say, look, I'm moving here, and then I'm going to move this unit 5 inches in front of them. Do you want to surge near me? And they'll say, yeah, because I'll just come and hit you first. I'm like, cool, I'll charge and hit you first.
Yep.
Now, not every army has that, but it's a strategy I found with the resources available. And that's one of those kind of deeper level things where letting your opponents have their rules is sometimes less painful than trying to play around the rule altogether. Another good example is things that revive on a 2-up, like the Combi Lieutenant. A lot of people say there's no good solution because even if you kill him, you got to kill him again because he just gets up.
Karn the Betrayer. Karn the Betrayer.
Karn the Betrayer is a good example. I have lots of practice playing into Celestine and playing with Selesky myself for a short bit. Or in a pseudo example, Canis Rex and Sir Hector kind of do a similar thing.
Yep.
Problem with that, and not so much in Canis' way, because there's a difference between a whole Canis Rex and simply a Sir Hector, but the problem with that is you are just letting your opponent I don't want a Karn the Betrayer running around my half of the board for 5 turns. That sounds horrifying. I'll kill him once, he'll do some damage because I'm close to him because I had to kill him, and then I'll kill him again, and then he's done. Yep. He got his pound of flesh, but he was always going to get that. So and this again goes back into game tempo. This is much deeper game strategy, but the overarching point is sometimes getting your nose bloodied is better than just being knocked unconscious outright.
Yep, true indeed.
Just
like the temple we talked about. Yep. Exactly.
And I don't want to shock anyone, but we are playing a war game. Your models are going to die. I know. You'd be surprised some of the people I've played. Yeah.
You have to sacrifice units in this game to win sometimes?
Buddy, have to. The hive mind gets to. I don't think I've ended a game with more than 3 units in I don't even know how long. I've also not scored less than 80 points, and I don't know how long. So
exactly. Yep.
You know, actually, I know exactly. I know exactly how long. It was the last time I played you.
He was like, "Listen, I'm on this winning streak without Lewis. Leave me alone, Lewis."
Oh no, I want to go back. I need. Chris, this is exactly true.
Yes. That and orcs.
I love when people are like, "Oh, where's your invones?" And I'm like, "Gene Stealer's Hive Tyrant." And they're like, "Oh." They're like, they're like, "Where's your AP3?" And I'm like, "I took the X screens out. Don't got any anymore." They're like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Where's your door cover?" I'm like, "Non-existent."
Listen, I came with 2,000 frying pans to beat you up, and I'm gonna kill you with 2,000 frying pans. Just blunt objects. Gotta love it.
If it works, man. So
if it works, it works, man. If you got t-shirts on and frying pans and you're killing shit, fuck it.
No, the amount of people I've seen. Oh, so and this goes back to an episode we did a couple weeks ago. It's kind of on that third level, and it's how do you know this is it's relevant? But I'm going to add it, and that is realizing your play style, because sometimes there are things where people want to like something and don't, and versus watching someone play an army they just gel with and are having such a great time. And I have many friends who have a couple different armies, and some of them they have as hobby armies, and some of them they have because that is what they want to play. And you can like for me, I have a Slanesh army, I have a Necron army. I love both of those armies, but I am not nearly as good with either one as I am with Tyrannid. They are my absolute love.
So I don't think this is going to fit entirely in camera, but I just wanted to show everyone a giveaway for the Super Major Crucible, dude.
Oh.
Do you know what that is?
Yeah.
Dude, it's like 5 feet tall.
Yeah, that's Typhus's scythe.
Gorgeous, dude. Look at this massive beast. Oh my gosh.
That is incredible.
Just kind of, wanted to plug that in real quick. Had to. Let people know that the crazy amount of props that are going to be at Crucible this year.
Onto what Chris said here, absolutely. Like I will quite regularly sell out, 700 plus points of my army on, top or bottom of turn 1. Just to stop my opponent from getting to the board. I played a relatively prominent local player, and he didn't touch the center objective until turn 4, I think it was. I held him back to his deployment zone, and I died for it. Like, I had a wounded Ravener squad, a Neuro Tyrant, and a Biovore by the end of the game. That's it. That game ended in a draw, much to his credit, to score, to come back and still, make the best of a bad situation. But there are plenty of things like I did teach anime that you don't have to kill an enemy unit to nullify it. Sometimes just tagging it. That's one of the most powerful things in Knights is I'll take my infantry squad and I'll just tag it on 2 armigers, especially the Helverins that don't have melee weapons. Okay, stomp on me, kill maybe 1 or 2 Gene Stealers or 1 warrior. Hope you don't like activating. Like, whatever.
Except for your Space Marines, you can just go into your Assault Doctrine, I think it is, just fall back and shoot, right? Isn't it Assault Doctrine or
Tactical?
Tactical Doctrine. I don't know. I don't know these pesky Marines.
You just got to play around it. Yep, no, and that is also a good way to put it. The more you can lower the variance, the higher the rate of success.
Yeah.
Because people can't just spike. The most extreme example I saw was back in 9th edition. I saw someone roll 13 4-ups and every single one of them succeeded. They rolled 13 dice at once. Oh yeah, no, the opponent, the game stopped. Like everyone just stopped and stared at the dice board like, what? was the most insane roll, but it was a 1 in like almost 10 million chance, but it happened. It wasn't 0.
Yeah.
And
that's what you call for the solution, the water and salt solution for toilet dice.
I saw last weekend someone had to make an 11-inch charge and they failed it. CP rerolled, got the 11 exactly, 5 and a 6, and I'm like,
it clutched it. Yep.
It be what it be.
It be what it be, man. It be what it be. I had a guy tell me one time, he was just being super casual. I was like, no, I'm not gonna bother charging. He's box card away, right? He's like, but try it. You never know. You can get it. I was like, I doubt it though, dude. He was like, try it. I rolled it, box cards. He was so mad. It blew up his canis, for the record. World Eaters in close combat against canis, not so bueno.
My favorite like just YOLO charge I ever saw was at the last team event back in like April, and it was this super new chick. I think her name was Gigi. Shout out to her. She's on the DDR team, and she's super sweet. She's playing Chaos Knight. She had an exactly 12-inch charge. It was the only 12-inch charge I've ever seen, because she was exactly 12 away. Because once you're 12.1, you can't even declare the charge.
Correct.
And she rolled it and just hit the boxcar's first roll. Did not matter. Didn't score any points. Didn't take an objective back. Didn't have to get no priz or assassinate. Just went for it. Got it. And man, I was so hyped. I'm like, this is why I play this game. This is
exactly why. It's like explosions, right? It's like when a vehicle explodes and then it's a chain reaction. For some reason, every time I play Douglas, it happens in our games. I'm just like, listen, man, I don't know what type of gasoline you guys are dealing with. You guys got like that cheap mobile gas or something. But every time I blow up a night, it's like blue, 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 a cascade of explosions.
Chris, this is in fact true, but we were so hyped on it that we did not even consider that, because again, the boxcars are cooler.
Yeah. If you're 12 inches away, correct. Yeah, boxcars are just cooler, man. You just roll that, you're like, that makes it lovely. And if you're a World Eaters player, you circumvent that most of the time, because you can learn how to charge things that are way out of range.
So, Chris, this only is true if you don't have a reserve charge waiting and you roll that boxcars first. Because then it feels like a threat.
And then you go too far and you have to wrap them, right? Well, and then it gives the opportunity for another unit to heroically intervene that you didn't want to hit in the first place.
Yeah, no. What I mean is, you have a 3-inch charge, you roll a 12, and then you have a deep strike charge that came in and you roll a 4, and you're like, why?
Why? Yeah. No, I totally get it.
Why have you forsaken me?
There for the dice gods, there is an order. I don't know why there's an order, but there is an order for the dice gods. Because I've done that before, because I'm like, in my mind, all right, I'm going to roll for this one first, and be like, no, I'm going to go left to right, and then roll exactly what I needed for that unit that I said I was going to do it for on this unit. And I'm like, son of a... It's just the worst case scenario, like you said. Yep.
But at the end of the day, this is in fact a game. And even as we talk about, the levels of comprehension and, competitiveness, I don't like the word skill, because, there are people who I deem much better than me that I've beaten. And there are people that think they're much worse than me that have absolutely buried my face in the dirt. So, it's a thing to remember, but that this is a game. Have fun with it, guys. Please, for the love of God, do not make 40K your personality. We have enough of that.
We do.
But
don't take it that serious. It's just a game, like you said. At the end of the day, go get you a girlfriend, man, or a boyfriend, or whatever. Like, do something with your life.
Yeah, go get a real hobby.
Yeah, exactly. Spending money and going broke. It'll really make you broke.
But no, the thing is, we are at a relatively healthy point in the game where every army has an army that counters it. So, you might be the greatest Knights player on the planet and walk up to, you know, day one Eldar player guy who's like, hey, I just think 30 fire dragons and Fugan is neat. Oh, he's right. That's going to be a real neat list in the years. Yeah. And then next round, that 30 fire dragons and Fugan goes into, you know, 120 GSE bodies and has a much less neat game. You just never know.
So, just to let everyone know, too, we're not leaving, but just to let everyone know, the next live show is going to be completely based on all the Crucible rules, things like that. So, hopefully I see you all. Right? It's going to be based on all the rules, what's going to be allowed, what's not going to be allowed. Hopefully we even get Tim in here, too, for the narrative, so he can talk about the narrative portion as well.
Oh, I love Tim. He's so fun.
I always get so excited every single year that the narrative is performing so well, just the interactions, the crusade that they do and things like that. But every year, like, I go to Crucible and there's thousands of people there. And then I do the 40K section, but I don't even care for the 40K. I'm there for everything else. I'm there for the spectacle of the show. I'm there for what is the new RPG, what's the new board games, what's the new vendors, right? It's all that stuff. Seeing people, getting the new swag. I think they even do a prize hunt, so finding prizes and stuff like that. So it's nice, man. I truly enjoy it. I know I'm plugging myself in. But if you've never been to Crucible, right? Chris J, you said you're from Seattle. You got to come to Crucible, man. If you message me, I can probably make life a little bit easier for you. But listen, Crucible is absolutely amazing. It's a great time. It's a spectacle. There's 1,000 things to do there. You do 7 rounds of 40K. You do only 2 on Friday and Sunday, things like that. So a great time, man, just to be there. And it's across the street from Universal Studios and Disney World. So or across the street from Universal, close to Disney World.
It's at the Doubletree in Orlando is the name of the hotel where the convention is held, QuestCon, and Crucible is the 40K event specifically.
Yep.
If you get on Facebook and look up Onslaught Gaming, you know, either send Lewis a message or I'm on there, you know, I'll get you in contact with Lewis. He can give you the much more detailed breakdown.
Or Discord as well.
Or the Discord, the Onslaught Discord as well. Third weekend of September 17th to the 19th?
19th to the 21st. It's 3 days.
Okay. But first of all, feel free to plug yourself. 1, it's your channel. 2, it's your brand. 3, it's an amazing event and people should go, honestly. As for me, I'm going for 2 reasons. 1, you know, to support you because you're a great friend and deserve the support, and 2, someone needs to win Best Tyranids, and you know, I'm gonna do my best. I had quite the Cinderella run last year, and I'm trying to see if I can't have lightning strike twice.
That's the link right there, Chris, so you can see exactly.
See, but yeah,
so everyone can see, right? This is for everyone, so would love to see anyone there, man. Message me, let me know. Like, if you're from a different state and you come with like a club or 2, I'll probably make your trip very easy. So just let me
know. Yeah, no, it's great, good times. I'm super looking forward to next week's show. Or not next week, to the next show we do.
Yeah.
And yeah, so, you know, just remember, if there's things you don't understand, that's not a reason to get down on yourself. That's not a reason to feel bad or let anyone else make you feel bad. Part of my personal excitement and enjoyment about this game is there's always something to learn, whether it's a new codex's rules, units interactions, or just plays I can make. Because every game is different. You know, I've played dozens upon dozens of games into Knights, as well as Tau and Sisters, and I always learn something new each game.
Yep.
So that, you know, that is playing the same army for hundreds of games in a row. For example, something that a lot of people don't consider, other than Grey Knights, I think, were the only ones who really took advantage of it. You don't have to put leaders in units. If you're playing a game where you think you need to be a bit more MSU and you don't necessarily need the punch, like, for example, in Tyranids, I don't need Broodlords in my Gene Stealers against GSC.
Yep.
The Gene Stealers can just rip them apart with their base profile.
Yep.
So I can have more models to either screen or go rip up another 5-man unit rather than just having these 230-point bricks. So, you know, that's just one of those things that you learn by playing. And saying, if I see 120 guardsmen, all right, Gene Stealer's over here, Broodlord over here, go. Same here.
Yep.
So,
100%.
Because you choose your leaders in the declare formation step. So just because you have leaders doesn't mean that they have to be smashed in. You can choose to keep yourself, you know, MSU'd.
And remember, if your character has deep strike and the unit doesn't, don't ask me if that unit can deep strike if he attaches. Just stop it.
Yeah. Especially if you have an enhancement that says the unit can deep strike with... God, I can hate GW.
Yeah.
Subtraining Assault has an enhancement, if for those of you who don't know, that lets you put it on a model with deep strike and then says the unit can arrive using the deep strike keyword. Yeah. Except the core rules say every model must have it. Yep. So really, your only option is either put it on the Flying Hive Tyrant, the Parasite of Mortrex, or the Winged Tyranid Prime in a unit of Gargoyles.
You know, that question has been asked to me about 5 times the last 2 weeks.
It's because the enhancement itself says the unit can arrive, and it's not quite the same, but it's very similar to Uriel Ventress's rule. But Uriel Ventress's rule says he gives a unit deep strike. Unit.
Right. People get confused because one ability allows it, scouts, right? So if the whole unit has scouts, the dedicated transport gets it as well. So people for some reason they confuse that and think that it works and it applies for that as well. I'm like, certain things apply and certain things don't. Like, you can charge the barrel of a walker, but you can't charge the barrel of something that's not a walker keyword and has a base, right? I don't think there is, but I'm just saying, right? Like, there's occasions like that, those weird niche rules. So,
yeah,
no Diddy.
Yeah, so, you know, I've seen a lot of people, both low and high, for some reason, you know, either shaming or feeling bad that they didn't know. And there's just no reason for it. There's stuff we all don't know. I have, you know...
Speak for yourself, man. I said, speak for yourself, man.
Oh, I heard you. I will post screenshots of all the times you send me questions, okay? You calm down.
I have receipts.
For those of you who don't know, the ratio of me asking him to him asking me is like 10-1 in his favor. So I'm gonna just quiet down now. But
listen, he plays Tyranids and he knows Battle Shock very well. I always defer to him for Battle Shock. Like,
it's my one trick.
Educated me because I need to know better.
It's the one trick I have, man. I have to use it. But yeah, you know, don't let anyone shame you, and, you know, for the love of God, don't shame anyone, and don't, especially yourself, because we all had to start with, you know, what is a command phase? What is a move characteristic? How do shoot? What is even cover in 10th edition? There are people at very high levels that still, you know, assume cover, like, because it's like, oh, if you exist, you have cover, which is mostly true. But remember, it's model by model, so I might ignore cover from, like, you know, 3 of your 5 scouts, but the other 2, you can see my whole squad, so I don't get to, like, it's. Yeah, so don't let anyone, you know, shame you, tell you should know, whatever. There are a million rules in this game and a million ways to break every rule depending on your army or your opponent's army. So, you know, ask questions, stay open-minded and informative yourself. Don't get mad if someone's asking you, because you're, you know, over the course of even a 3-round event, you're probably going to ask one of your opponents something.
Yeah, true indeed. Yeah, no, I'm super excited. I'm super excited to see everyone at Crucible. Hopefully the official slate that they said, GW officially said that it was coming out in September. So hopefully that officially comes out way before the major, so I don't have to go through those headaches. I'm super excited to see everyone. And you, of course, brother.
Dude, Tyranids have been like slowly dropping in win rate, so I'm just looking at those juicy point drops.
It's all right. No one is worse than orcs right now. No one is worse than orcs. Orcs are like in a river of their own tears right now.
You know what I want to see? I just want to see them undo every single nerf to orcs they've done. Just every nerf from the beginning of the codex, just undone. Honestly, hot take, I don't think it'd be that big of a deal anymore.
Listen. The only thing that I think shouldn't change is 4-out feel no pain on Mega Nubs. It's stupid. It's stupid. Dude, those units never die. I would love it to stay, but I think 5-up feel no pain is the best point that it should be out. At 4-ups, it's ridiculous.
You know what? They can go back to 4-up feel no pain. 55 points a model, 330 for 6. Done.
No, that's not what we want. That's not what we want. We want cheap units and a 5-up feel no pain. So we can take Mega Knobs and I can finally play Bully Boys again. Don't get me started, okay?
Oh, this is a fantastic point, and something I did want to bring up because it came up. So
yeah,
not
that's true. True. Yeah.
Not specifically about precision, but dev wounds. I see high level players do this wrong as well. Yeah. Dev wounds go last after all saves have been made. So even if you're rolling Gene Stealers and Broodlord, or if you're running a unit of Possessed with a leader who can do dev wounds and Chaos, the dev wounds do not hit until the entire activation is done, and then they come into the equation. Right. I see many people when I roll my Gene Stealer thing, and I've even been guilty of it in some games, just letting it happen because I'm not thinking about it. I'm busy rolling, where I roll my attacks. I'm like, all right, you take 8 dev wounds and you have, 9 saves or whatever. And they're like, oh, I failed, 5 of them and I got 8, so that's 13 wounds to my unit. You kill 4 of them and do a wound over here. No, I only did the 5 saves you failed. Those dev wounds are waiting until after Broodlord's done swinging.
Yep.
So but also like you said, if you have precision, like Vanguard Onslaught does, I can just say, okay, I rolled 6 dev wounds. All 6 of those dev wounds are going on your character without a save. Everything else is going on the unit now.
Yep. And
so you can manipulate like that. That is more, I would say kind of a level 2 thing because it is spelled out in the rules, but also, goes into that depth of level 3 of knowing how to allocate your damage. For example, in a game against Black Templars this weekend, I had to assassinate, and my options were a Castellan or a Marshal, and the Castellan doesn't have an invul. Yep. So I went after him. I precisioned him out, and then I said the rest can go on the unit, because I don't want to deal with your invuln. I'd rather you get a 5-up armor save than a 4-up invuln on my damage. So yes, thank you, Recon by Fire. That is a wonderful point to make. And also, and going back to the point about sequencing is remembering, to play yourself honestly, because you could accidentally give yourself an advantage you shouldn't have, or you could give your opponent an efficiency they may not, necessarily get. Specifically with units that have some models that have a feel no pain and some don't, like the Court of the Archon, for example. So it's something to be aware of when you or your opponent is sequencing damage. Make sure you are doing it in the correct order for everyone's benefit. One last soapbox for me to get on. I blame Recon. I need to get a game against Geo. I need to get a game against Recon. I need to start terrorizing people. Not enough people fear Gene. I told people I'm running Gene Stealers, and they just were kind of like, oh, that's cool. Like the fear was gone from their eyes. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, that's cute. It's very cute.
Yeah, they're like, oh yeah, Gene Stealers. Okay. I'm like, buddy.
You have no idea what's coming.
To be fair, every single person that was like that got like 2 to 3 units wrecked top of 1, and they're like, oh, and I'm like, yeah.
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 You feel that? You feel that? Yeah. Gotta love it. All right. So what else you got, brother? Before we
nothing.
head out, give the people our salutes and.
Yep, I'm gonna get best in faction Tyrannid, get best general, finally get interviewed about Tyrannid content, and good time.
Gotta love it.
We're just gonna keep that as a joke and just never do the episode. Like we're just gonna keep talking about it and be like Reigel Fetterman 1 LVO, and be like, yeah, Tyrannid content coming soon. TM.
Never actually drops, just tease everyone.
Never get to it. Like, all right, guys. I took Canoptic Court to a local RTT and won again. Check out my high-level Necron tactics.
Well, everyone have a wonderful weekend. As always, make sure to like, share, subscribe, show your support. This is how we continue to do this for all of you. And I got to feed this man, right? I got to feed Reigel. So please submit, and send in whatever you can. It's always truly appreciated. But on a serious note, thank you so much, as always. Have a wonderful night. Reigel, any last things you want to say before?
Serious note, I'm not bringing a food budget to Crucible. You're just feeding me when I'm there.
I'm just going to I got you.
It's just all shots and like the freaking peels from the alcoholic drinks.
I was just going to tell you, it's just going to be peanut butter crackers the entire time. That's it.
Salted lime quarters.
Yes, the entire time.
No, I'm good. I hope everyone had a good time, could take something away from this. And yeah, had fun. And see you guys in 2 weeks, and we'll be talking more about Crucible because you guys have not heard enough about it. I promise.
That's right. Have a great night, everyone. Take care, and don't forget Onslaught Gaming 40K, where victory is just a strategy away.
Have a good night.
Toodaloo!